Use the what?
Weed for a segue.
Oh, and we're live.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome once again to Cavalier Cigar Company, your place to hang out with us Sunday nights live at the lounge. I am Sam. In the middle is Alex this week, and on the far end is my good friend David, and we're going to chat for the next hour about whatever we want, really. Is that right? Yeah, pretty much. Generally business focused, generally a little bit of news, maybe no politics whatsoever, I don't know.
You can see right as this started, we were still discussing show notes because we planned this thoroughly in advance.
Hey, I planned it, and by the way,
I showed up 6 minutes ago.
He did, yeah. He sent me his location tracker on his phone, so we were watching him.
I was in Houston an hour ago.
Tell us about those tickets.
Yeah.
However, it is an interactive show, so I've got it up on my phone. We're watching the live feed. If any of y'all want to get in on this and tell us some stuff, there's some guys downstairs probably going to shout abuse at us as well that you can...
I don't think we've ever discussed politics, have we?
Not very much, no. But Beto is coming to take your AR-15s. How do you feel about that?
I don't have an AR-15.
Why not?
I sleepwalk. Guns aren't a good idea.
David, why don't you have an AR? Oh, wait.
No, wait, I don't. Nothing to see here.
At least not one with a registration number
But
or
for
a
real,
serial
though,
number.
what's that about? So, a politician standing up and saying, yes, we're going to come
I
take
am
your assault
halfway
rifles.
convinced he's a Republican plant just to throw a wrench in the Democratic Party.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Because nobody, when he first came on the scene challenging Ted Cruz in Texas, the guy's name it's highly Irish. What's his actual name?
I don't remember.
Yeah, Francis.
Robert Francis.
But he's somehow known as Beto O'Rourke now. Apparently we use pseudonyms in politics again.
Beto.
But he has a really interesting history. There's some great photos of him all floating around the internet. Now, I don't know how many I trust with the deepfake stuff we've talked about.
I'm glad there wasn't photos of
He rides that
when we were
skateboard.
doing what we were doing.
He does
when
ride
we
that
were
skateboard.
teenagers.
Kyle would like it.
Kyle would like it. Does he ride a skateboard?
He was trying to get familiar with the younger crowd, so there's quite a very popular photo of him running on about to jump the skateboard.
Really? I don't know. I stopped following politics because it angered me.
We had him at the food park, so I looked him up beforehand when he was coming just to see who he was. But that was actually interesting. If you didn't know, we used to have the Wayside Food Park, and we actually had Beto there for a rally. But
a campaign. It was full though, wasn't it?
It was packed. There were 1,500 people there, and they were spilling out into the
What did the fire marshal
street.
say about that?
We don't have a fire code because it's outdoors. So that was one of the things that was a big
Packing deep, selling cheap.
Yeah. But it had nothing to do with him or his politics, and we didn't care. I mean, it was for exposure. We were like, I'd have Ted Cruz here tomorrow if he was like, I'm going to have a bigger rally. I'd be like, come on, Ted.
Come on, yeah. Sell some hamburgers, hot dogs.
Let's do it.
Double the price.
I have never watched, and I didn't watch much of the debate, but I've watched the clips from it. I didn't want to give it the ratings, but I've never seen a man commit suicide on stage more eloquently than he did.
God.
It just doesn't make any sense.
I'm going to speak Spanish real fast.
Yeah, I mean, oh my God, he managed to not answer a question in 2 languages. Mm-hmm. It was impressive.
Dude, when I go pick up tacos from Fuego and they bring it out to me and they're clearly Spanish speaking, I'll say gracias and they'll say de nada, and I feel like a king. I'm like, yes. And that's really
I have communicated
fooled
in the same
them.
language.
That's really the only kind of, I know gracias and that's about it. But they say de nada and I'm like, yeah, I'm part of the team now.
That's right.
But I mean, it's just manners,
And
I guess.
your order's right 70% of the time.
It's 65, yeah.
Right.
We're all part of the same team. The lines are made up by people no smarter than you and it doesn't mean anything.
I believe it. The rules are made up, the points don't matter.
Yes.
That's right.
It is a giant game of whose line.
Mm-hmm. So talking of Who's Line, how was your week, Alex? You had some pretty exciting developments this week.
Crazy busy. Did a bunch of showings. Had a couple signed contracts. Actually, this Friday, it was like the final point of transaction completed, or really now the ball's rolling with 3 different offers all on Friday.
This guy is going to be the name in real estate in this town.
I don't think so.
I do. I think so. Yeah. I think it's the bun that's naturally attractive. It's got its own little gravitas there, just sitting on the back of your head. I like it.
Thank you.
It has its own marketing team to launch shortly.
So how about you? What's new in the car business this week, Dave?
Oh man,
Because I got show notes coming out of my ears.
It's almost 2020 model time.
Again? It's new models again?
Yeah, it happens every year. It's the damnedest thing. The 2020s probably won't hit until, for my two brands, won't hit until late October, early November. I'll start seeing them.
That's not too bad. But now the trucks, they normally roll out trucks like 6 months in
Hyundai's got them on the
advance.
ground already.
How does that work though? Because it's very much 2019.
So, and I think European standards are different. The model years are based on when the year it was sold, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here it's just purely what the manufacturer wants to put on it for the most part. They could call it a 2022 model year if they wanted to, I think. I've never really looked too deep into
So
it.
it's just what they want to brand it?
Yeah, I think so.
You see, in England now, to get around the, basically, it always used to be 1st of August was the new plates, the new cars, was our year trade over. And to get around that, it would peak car sales in August, and then it would be decline for the rest of the year. So they switched it now, and I want to say it's August and February now, every 6 months. So you've got a year, and then you've got a half year, and a year and a half year.
Well,
and it staggers the...
a couple years ago, Mazda did a half-year model, and Nissan's done a couple of half-year models, and they're a disaster because let's say that today I got a communique from Mazda that said, hey, we're going to delay the 2020 releases. We're going to have 19 and a halves. Well, the problem is if you delay the 2020 releases until, let's say, March, then they're not going to hit dealer lots till April. They're not going to start selling heavily till May. Well, typically around the end of March, banks stop looking at previous model years as new cars.
That makes sense.
So that's a lot of the reasons they'll get them out. They're trying to get the model years off your lot.
Yes.
We start looking mid-December. We really look earlier than that, but we start really judging it mid-December for what's my market day supply on previous model years going into the next year.
Is that a reason like the year is such an important aspect of a car as opposed to say something like a phone, just because it released this year, like even though it's an S10, it's still going to be the same whether or not it's a year and a half from now or anything like that. But the banks, I guess, have to see that because most likely you're going to use financing.
Right. The majority of vehicle purchases are financed, and when you look at the way that finance is calculated, it's done using loan to value, just like in any industry. In real estate, same thing, right? Your loan to value on a house is important.
Right, exactly.
Well, it's like all of a sudden your appraisal dropped by 20% if you didn't get your deal done by the end of the month.
Right.
That's the same kind of thing where
And then you're stuck with those cars.
Right.
Which is why they have the big rebates, correct?
Well, yes, but typically when the model year changes, the rebates go away. So
See, we don't know any of
yeah,
this.
or your incentives, or your manufacturer money will disappear, and they'll let you know 3-4 months ahead of time. Hey, on this date we will stop supporting previous model year these models, and it doesn't all happen at once. I'll have my first 2020 Volkswagens mid-November, and I won't receive my last 19s until mid-February for other models.
Right.
It staggers the changeover.
Do you know, I don't own any purple shirts. Looking at the feed, and like every week I'm always in like grey or black. I was like, I'm gonna wear a different colour shirt for the podcast this
Who's
week.
wearing purple?
Well, I thought I'm gonna wear a different colour shirt this week.
Oh.
I thought, what colour would be good? I'm like, ooh, what about purple? No.
I have a
I'm like, what
pretty
about orange?
Wow,
No.
we just went smooth off the rails.
I don't have any orange t-shirts either.
I have a pretty good range of colors. The only one I can't do is like a yellow because it makes you look like I have jaundice.
I got a pink shirt the other day.
I was curious, George, in real life.
I have lots of. Do you know what the man in the yellow hat's real name is?
No?
Ted Shackelford.
Get out of here. How do
Is
you
he
know
Rusty
that?
Shackelford's brother?
No, it's Ted Shackelford.
So I wanted to talk about vaping.
I think it's delightful how like my whole train of thought got derailed by shirt color.
That's a
And then-
huge.
It was just bothering me because I keep looking down to see if we've got any questions coming in. I just see me in a grey t-shirt again. Like, man, so next week maybe I'll find a Hawaiian shirt or something to wear.
You think those random trivia facts don't come up every once in a while, but they do.
Why do you even know the man in the orange hat, yellow, whatever, the banana guy
Yellow
from
hat.
Curious George? I just figured he wore yellow because he gave the monkey bananas. I thought that was
The illustrators ran out of the
But
colors.
we had Curious George as kids. Has it been around since the 50s?
Wasn't Curious George one of your politicians?
No, I don't want to talk about British politics, man. That's a mess. That is such a mess right now. Yeah, geez. I keep wondering about just going back home and running for office while nobody's paying attention because I'd probably get in.
Wouldn't that be fun?
until you actually won, then you'd be like Donald Trump. You go, huh?
Oh man,
I had just done this for the publicity. I did not intend to win.
I feel worse for Melania. She didn't
like,
she didn't want
fucker
any
did
of that. All of a sudden, she's like,
of a bitch.
"You're gonna do what now?"
And you know that's not the first time he's come to her with some random outlandish plan, and she's like, "All right, fine, whatever you want."
Yeah, just go be president, Donald. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Oh, and then 6
Election
months
night, they
later,
both had that 1,000-yard gaze when he won. Going,
shit.
and
What
I
have we done?
think South Park captured it best.
I think we all had that 1,000-mile stare when fucking Trump won the election.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think he's done a terrible job so far, has he?
No, if they could just take the Twitter away from him, he'd be fine. That's all he needs to do. I think he would be so much more widely accepted if he would stop tweeting.
Let him have his fun.
So
Like,
as
I
we-
think he gets up in the morning, sits on the shitter, and says, "Who am I going to fuck with today?"
I think everybody, honestly,
I can believe that.
Yeah.
So
Price of beans in China? Let's make that go up.
Yeah. Can you imagine having that power in your Twitter?
that's amazing. But
I would be
160
scared
characters?
to tweet. I would be scared to tweet.
Well, didn't they expand it to 320 characters? So you can put like super long tweets now?
I have no idea.
320 characters. You can change foreign policy from the shitter. Like,
I think that this is the first time, that we've had a president with the ability to communicate directly and unfiltered. The thing when the
since the
speeches went out
fireside
on the
talk.
radio,
which I
Fireside
actually,
Talks were the last ones.
but they were still processed. They still came over the radio. They still
Yeah.
went through an edit and sweep. Twitter's just Twitter and
Editing
click.
Suite was a guy with cables in 1950.
so
Well,
I
you know
don't,
what,
I
man.
don't enjoy necessarily what Trump might post about, but I do like the fact that the president of the United States. But again, I don't even know if it's always him or if there could be somebody on his cabinet. If there was something where there's always PR reps who type things out, and then sometimes it might be him just doing whatever. If I knew
You can tell
that,
in his tweets which ones are him.
if
and which ones
I
aren't.
knew it was him coming out and telling different things, I actually like the fact that you have a direct line of
direct
communication from him to
I wonder if he reads the replies and starts getting more and more annoyed and angry.
retweets.
Rage tweeting.
He's retweeted a bunch of stuff. So
He
he
seems just getting
surfs
red in the
Twitter.
face. I did not do.
Yeah,
Hands. So
that's why
Could
debates
you
are
imagine Bill Clinton on
debates
Twitter,
are
though?
such bullshit.
Could you how many women he would pick up on his Twitter account?
no, it would be Bill Clinton on Instagram that would be a problem.
Oh,
Got slide to those DMs.
I
Yeah.
did not want to. I didn't want to envision that, but you just see an old guy on a beach with no shirt on taking a selfie.
Monica.
Oh my God!
That's wrong. That's wrong. But, the most powerful guy in the world bangs his intern. Doesn't get in trouble for banging his intern. Gets in trouble for lying about it.
Yeah.
I would have just seen that man. Look at Hillary, man. I'm sorry. It's just sorry. Just it had to happen.
Being British, is it legitimately he is the most powerful person in the world, or is it more the fact that we live in America, so he's more powerful to us? I mean, influential wise, yes, but I guarantee you, like over in China or
He's
other
directly
countries,
affecting China's economy.
Financially, is he? No. I mean, because you've got your 3 seats of power. You've got the City of London, you've got Washington, you've got the Vatican. Is he the most powerful? No. But like on a day-to-day basis, he pretty much has last say over the biggest military in the world. I'd say he was reasonably. Yeah, I mean, for all intents and purposes,
America's not what it was in the 50s and 60s. And
we were taught as kids that the president of America was it. I mean, he was on par with the Queen.
Really? Like that? Okay.
Yeah, that was a very, very powerful position. Yeah, that's what we were growing up in Europe is what we were taught that. I mean, the Americans had military bases in England. They had air bases. They had radar listening stations and stuff to monitor the Russians because it was the Cold War. What have I missed?
America.
Fuck yeah.
America. Oh man. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I got you as quick as I could.
Yeah.
So.
Welcome.
Thank you. But I wanted to touch on, as we're all smoking our cigars here, it's good and healthy for us. What's going on with vaping?
So the whole
Big tobacco.
Yeah.
What's going on with vaping? Because
Well, hold on a minute. So the deaths with vaping, I haven't read super deep into this.
We've had 6 deaths attributed to vaping now.
Right, but I think what 4 of
Wait
them
a
now
minute,
have been they've been officially tied to
It's been more than 6.
6 very recently that they're talking about.
6 now that they've directly tied it to it, that they've said, right, we've got to stop vaping.
Have
Well,
they
but-
said it's been not illegal? It's or not illegal cartridges with like
No,
THC.
that's the thing.
They've
Is
said
it's
some of that
illegal
stuff, yeah.
cartridges.
Have they all
improperly mixed cartridges?
have they all been directly correlated to that, or is it still
I don't know, but
speculation?
they arrested a couple of brothers out of Arkansas.
Good.
The other day, I saw they had a $1.5 million street value of these little oil cartridges.
Yep.
Of course,
So-
it's in Arkansas.
Of course. So what I read though was people in fear of getting these little bubbles in their lungs from this oil are now, because it opened up an entire market to nicotine that wasn't introduced to nicotine. You got all these flavors, you got berries, you got gum, you got all this kind of stuff, and now they're switching and going, well, that's not as safe as cigarettes, so I'll just switch to cigarettes.
It's a huge play by
So
big
is it
tobacco.
a play by
Oh,
big
yeah.
tobacco.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
Cigarette smoking kills like 1,300 people a day.
Well, but
400,000 a year is like the
here's
most
the
recent
problem:
number
is
that I
that
saw.
the cigarette smoking numbers have been on the decline for the last decade. Since Joe Camel went off the TV, the cigarette smoking numbers have been on the decline. It's not the cool thing to do anymore.
But
What?
how much money is still being made?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, but
Big tobacco's not losing.
Philip Morris owns, if I recall correctly, Philip Morris is now the largest commercialized producer of marijuana.
Yep.
They
no
have
doubt.
all of the government contracts for the research, for the USDA, for the FDA, and all that.
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah, shocker.
Yeah.
Not only that, but they own a large percentage of, I think it's Views or one of the little vape companies.
Well, I mean, the British government's one of the largest manufacturer producers in England.
Yeah.
Marijuana producers in England.
Yeah.
But they grow it, weighed in, weighed out, all under lab control, and it's fine for them to grow it and experiment with it and everything else, but the minute an old man grows 2 plants in his greenhouse, he's going to jail still.
We worked on a project directly with our old company and doing stuff with the CDC, and they were testing mercury levels in tobacco,
Yeah.
and you could directly see like a fingerprint where in the world the tobacco was coming from, because they have issues with counterfeit tobacco. And that directly affects big tobacco, because you have a guy in China and he makes a counterfeit knockoff carton of Marlboro,
Right.
and he comes here to the States, and you go to the guy who owns the Quickie Mart down the street and you say, how much are you paying for your cartons usually? And he goes, this much. And you say, how would you like to buy them for a third of
Yeah.
the price?
And that's where the federal tax stamps come in.
And that guy could care less about the people smoking.
Well, that's why they beat
Couldn't
that guy
care
to
less.
death in New York.
Yeah.
They're selling untaxed cigarettes.
Correct. And
You
so
know, you hear
that's
about
why
that.
they're putting all this money
Eddie
into it.
Murphy, Beverly Hills
Yeah,
Cop, the
it-
first
Beverly
chase
Hills
scene.
Cop opens
Untaxed
with-
cigarettes.
Yeah, a truckload of counterfeit Marlboros.
So do they really care that it's killing people and unhealthy? Or do
No, they care
They
they're not
care
getting
they're
cut.
not getting their
they're
cut.
getting paid, you know?
That is absolutely it. There's no way to look at the data and say, oh yeah, that makes sense, because there's so many other things
not-
that kill people,
right,
and it's lobbying.
It's not
and,
it's like, hey, this is slightly more unhealthy than this terribly unhealthy thing.
Yep.
Well, let's talk about cigars. So, Colton's vehement about this is that there's no studies directly linking cigar smoking, like one cigar a day, to an increased risk of most cancers. Whereas dip or cigarettes have a significantly higher risk. And this isn't a pro-cigar thing. It's all bad for you.
We know.
But we're aware.
We're going to die at some point anyway.
Yes, it's just a matter of pace. But
And to be fair, sorry to get off tangent here, but if you die with a perfect body that's in shape and very healthy, I think you've wasted the
There
opportunity for a little debauchery somewhere along the
no,
line.
there are. No, I've said this on the show before. There are 105-year-old guys that drink, smoke, and have done coke half their lives, and then there's 40-year-old guys that are in perfect health. Their heart just fails one day.
I had a buddy.
I think it's so much more about genetics. Obviously, right, if you're 700 pounds, you're at a higher risk for dying.
Correct.
But if you are reasonably healthy, I mean, look at people that you have these ultra marathoners that get cancer, and you've got people that are 100 and never had it.
Right.
Yep.
It's
Genetics
It's
is
so much
huge.
more about genetics than it is about actions.
So enjoy your vapes and your
Well,
cigars.
there was a guy in our
you
high
do
school who
you.
passed away, and he had esophageal cancer, and age 30, and never smoked. Just one of those things. But
Shitty luck, right?
yeah, and there are people who smoke and drink. I mean, my grandpa used to inhale cigars, and
Well, I mean, how many older folks do a lot of us know that are 70, 80 years old that smoke a pack of menthols a day and are fine? And
my dad used to see the old ladies outside the nursing home where his mom was. They're like 100 years old, and there'd be 3 of these old ladies out there smoking every day when he'd come out, and
Yeah.
no matter what day it was. And
they're cutting the filters off the end because they don't like the taste.
he would always joke with them. He'd be like, "Those are gonna kill you," and they're like, "We're 100 years old."
We fucking hope so.
yeah.
We're
Working on
ready,
it,
come
honey.
on.
Yeah.
Oh, that must be so just boring, man. I don't know why they haven't like started implementing Mario Kart and shit into nursing homes. You know, when I
game or actual go-karts?
I think that is a huge
the
underutilized thing to have people be more involved with nursing homes and figure out better ways for care and
old people all
trying
have
to
stories to tell, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be more involved with that, but we did things like about the Great Depression in school where we went and interviewed nursing home patients about the Great Depression who lived through it, and it was fascinating to hear the stories that they would talk about it, and that's a big piece of history. And there are old people right now who are bored out of their mind sitting in a home just because they can't care for themselves, but then that means the rest of their life is just garbage.
We had a guy in the store. We had a guy in the store the other day that was born in 26.
I was there that day.
Yeah. He was born in 1926, and I looked at his driver's license. He drove himself up there, and he was of sound mind, and he's a little hard of hearing, but you fucking have a right to. At 93 years old.
Yeah, plus he shoot a lot of guns in the war.
Yeah, I mean, he's super cognitive. I would have loved to have spent hours talking to him.
There was a nursing home in the village that I grew up in, and Mum worked there when I was 8, 9 years old, and without fail, once or twice a year, the village would get snowed in, and we'd have to go and help. And you know, I've told about the story about the old men staring out, looking at the birds. You know, one podcast.
Keeping the tits warm.
Previous, looking at tits, and you know, I would go and sit, and there was this old guy, Eddie, and old as shit, couldn't walk, couldn't stand up, but he always had the best stories. He'd had a stroke, so he couldn't really talk very well, but he had love and hate tattooed on his knuckles, and an anchor tattooed on his forearm.
He had some stories.
He just, and you know, half the time he couldn't get his words out, but I would just.
Well, you look at.
For me as a bright-eyed, you know, 8, 9-year-old kid, who all my books at the time were hand-me-downs. They were all old war comics and stuff with all these heroes that went around fighting the Germans. And this guy had really fought Germans. And
you look at these old Alzheimer and dementia patients, and a lot of times the stories they can remember are the stuff that's from 30, 40 years ago. You know, there's a couple of facilities for Alzheimer's patients that are built to look like 1950s neighborhoods. And the whole purpose behind it is it's comfortable to them. They play the music from the 50s. All the homes look like they were built in the 50s, and it's inside like a big warehouse, but they build facades to make it look like streets.
You know, I don't know why there's
you'll
not,
work back degeneratively and go back, and then
why there's not entertainers that go around and sing live songs from the 50s and 60s.
Because here's the problem: so many people are willing to put their parents or grandparents at home, and life goes on, and they forget,
peace
or
of
time
mind
happens, and you look at the little amount that is paid to these people taking care of them.
Oh, I know, yeah.
And it's become so commercialized. You know, families paying $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 a month for their.
Well, it's cheaper for old people now if you know they get their affairs in order and just go on cruises.
Yeah.
And it's cheaper to pay to live on a cruise where they've got a doctor, they've got medical facilities. If anything goes wrong, people just go die on cruises.
They have year-long cruises.
Oh yeah.
You can go. It's like $12,000, and you can go on a cruise for a year.
I'd do it. I mean,
Let's say it's more than that.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's
40 or 50 grand.
I think like the ones that I've seen, like they've been like 50 grand, but yeah,
it's all your food, it's your housing, and you're on a cruise in a different port every day for a year.
Yeah, and there's a lot of old people too that, I mean, they have this house
You
and
got
they
$1 million
don't,
in retirement.
yeah, and they don't want to sit in this big house, and that's a lot of things. Is downsizing an elderly person is also very difficult too. You sell their house, what are you going to do? Move them into like a tiny little apartment?
Yeah.
No, it's like now's a good time to go into a home.
Well, no, I did that last year. I downsized to an elderly couple in their 80s, and it was heartbreaking. I mean, they'd been in that house nearly 50 years, and it was a very very emotionally involving transaction. We moved into a little kind of community of elderly where they all lived independently, but there was people around to check.
There was call buttons for somebody to come to the house,
and they got a reverse mortgage,
Yeah.
so they got no payments on anything, and that new property pays them a little bit of money, but no,
Reverse mortgages
heartbreaking.
are really, really good.
They're
Yeah.
good for certain situations.
Yeah.
Well, they
if
had
they're properly understood and explained.
they
Correct.
had 100% equity in their home.
Yeah. Right.
All their kids were financially stable, and they're
Yeah.
like, this gets us out. We get a little bit of income. We get our new house, and that was
Well,
it.
this actually transitions really, really nicely, because one of the things I wanted to bring up as part of my week this week is aging family, aging parents. And it's how do you deal with, this is one of two things I wanted to bring up tonight. This is something I've dealt with this week. You know, you realize, my folks in their early 60s, and you realize that some of the best memories I had with my grandparents were when they were the age that my parents are now.
Yes, same
Right.
here. Same here.
Yeah, and it's a little sobering because the people that were your rock growing up, you see them in hospital beds, you see them sick, you see them weak, and it's a reality check. It's you see your parents as superheroes that are untouchable growing up, right? They might as well be wearing a cape.
Yeah, my dad was the smartest, cleverest, strongest guy.
Yep.
You know, dad can do this, dad can do that, and now I'm the smartest, cleverest, strongest guy to William and Charlie. You know, and I look and, man, my dad was real smart and real clever and real strong. And I'm not saying I've passed him in smartness, but I've definitely passed him in strength.
Yeah.
You know, and
I'm not, man. My dad's still.
oh, your dad would whoop your ass, dude.
God damn. He doesn't have Facebook, so he doesn't he won't see that. So
We'll make sure he sees it. We'll edit that clip. We'll send it to him.
Yeah, I'll email it to him.
bullshit.
Send him on a DVD.
Dude, he looks like Poseidon.
He does. We should get him a trident.
Jesus Christ.
They've got the same hair, except Alex's dad's is like just white and
He's
wavy.
like, and he's 6'5", he's got this white beard, and
Yeah. You the runs.
he just stands there all mystical, like wind blows. I'm like, how's the wind blowing? Like,
How do you hero wind all the time?
yeah,
Just carries a little fan around in his
Yeah.
pocket.
yeah.
He's got a pole fan. He sits down whenever he stands somewhere.
But, you know,
Smoke and mirrors.
how do you care for elderly parents? And for me, it's like becoming more and more of a thing because, you know, both my parents turned 65 this year.
Yeah.
And, you know, you start thinking about it. I didn't ever intend to come to America and stay here for 20 years, but April will be 20 years since I came out here.
Wow.
Which means you've been in the U.S. longer than you were in England.
Yeah, I passed that in February, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I've been here longer than I've been over there.
I think we officially call you American now.
No.
I don't know.
I'd take Texan. You can call me Texan.
All right.
Yeah,
all right.
call me Texan.
You've
I'll
been
take that.
bequeathed.
Yeah, I'll take Texan all day long. And people say, well, where's your loyalties lie? You know, and honestly, Texas,
Yeah.
and then England, and then America.
Yeah.
But Texas, it's been a wonderful, wonderful place. Wonderful. I couldn't have asked for a better home. And I couldn't see myself living in another state.
No.
You know, I fancy, I might fly to Denver for a bit and go hang out in the mountains. But
Yeah,
I
there's
couldn't
some
see
cool
me-
places to visit.
couldn't see me
but-
living anywhere other than Texas, you know?
Well, one of the things, and Joe Rogan said it in one of his specials, he goes, Texas is fun because they've got a 3-page rule book, and it's really hard to change. Texas is what legislature meets every 2 years, and it takes years for stuff to get done, which is great. I mean, it's intentionally difficult to get a lot of things changed. But like the smoking age thing that just went through.
Yeah.
You got to be 21 years old in the state of Texas to buy tobacco now. And that includes vape products.
And Colton has to ID everybody that looks under 30 that
Yep.
comes in here.
Well, and it's weird though because fortunately they put enough forethought in it to grandfather people in. So if you're 18 on September 1st, 2019, you can smoke.
Yeah.
If you're 18 on September 2nd, you have to wait till you're 21.
Yes, you cannot. Yeah, but it was the same thing with alcohol, though.
Unless you have a valid military ID.
It was the same with alcohol, though, right?
Yeah.
You know?
I don't remember
Yeah,
No.
for our time.
before a time. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's-
it was a grandfather thing in
Yeah.
went
Yeah.
from 18 to 21.
Yeah, thank you.
let me ask the elderly. Let me ask the elderly in the
room.
back. When did it change?
Huh?
When did it change?
18 to 19, 19
Uh,
to 21, 86.
86.
Yeah.
Well, Texas used to be allowed to have an open container if there was a passenger in the car because they were allowed to drink while you
Right.
drove.
Right. I mean, speeding, right? I had an issue the other night where I was following an ambulance somewhere and I got pulled over by College Station Police. Now I understand they're doing their job, but when I say they're like, "Why are you going so fast?" I'm following that ambulance that has a family member in it,
Oh,
and their answer was the ambulance shouldn't be going that fast either. I'll be back with you in a minute. I sat on the side of the road 15 minutes waiting for a written warning while the ambulance was still continuing to the hospital.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have pulled over. I would just kept following the ambulance.
Legally, you got to pull over, man. They could have drove my ass to jail for that. It's evading.
I mean, can you not just throw your hazards on? Be like, yeah, see you, mate, but I've got other shit to do.
I mean, it's because I pulled off and I wasn't like, now I understand how many times cops must hear, oh, I got to go to the bathroom or
Yeah,
I got a
yeah.
family member in the
Right.
hospital. But I was literally tailgating an ambulance with another car behind me that was another family member. And he picked me out of the road. We were all going the same speed.
I saw him pull an ambulance over once on Reddit.
They can. So I was talking to my dad about that. My dad was Houston police. And I asked, I was like, what's the etiquette there? He goes, look, in the city of Houston, they had an ordinance that said ambulances and fire trucks cannot travel more than 15 miles an hour over the speed limit, even with their emergencies on,
Over the speed limit.
over the speed limit.
I didn't
Now-
realize ambulances could go that fast. I thought they topped out about 75 because of the chassis and everything.
No,
else.
they'll run 100. but they're also very top heavy.
I guess
and
the one
they-
I passed just wasn't in a rush then.
They're very top heavy, and they are fiberglass boxes. They look like 18-wheelers if they get in a wreck. Which, waiting for first responders to come to a first responder wreck has got to be a interesting situation.
Hey, Gary.
Yeah, right. But the
Screwed that up, mate.
missed that turn.
Yeah.
But there are situations where like police have pulled over other police, or there's a couple of videos of that where like one department, a state trooper will pull over a local cop running 20 over the speed limit without his lights and sirens on.
Yeah, good.
Good for him. Do
Yeah.
it.
Dude,
Pull over.
I used to commute Highway 59 when I was working in East Texas, and every freaking morning a sheriff would fly by me in a 50-mile-an-hour zone. Every morning that guy would fly by doing 70, 75, and never did he have his lights on. It was just he was just going to go get coffee and donuts and stuff.
Because he
And
could.
little East Texas town, off he went. Yeah.
Well, in the city of Houston, if anybody's ever driven in the Houston area, it's, I-10, especially through town, like from Grand Parkway into 610, it's 17 lanes wide. You could land a jumbo jet on that bastard. The speed limit's actually 60, which I didn't know.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're going slower than 85, you're getting run over.
Oh, I know it. I mean,
And HPD will pull up behind you at 85 and flash their high beams at you to go around. Like
the Autobahn.
yeah, it's strange, man. It's super strange. Then every once in a while, they'll get a wild hair and they'll start pulling people over.
Right.
Now, I've noticed if you go anywhere near the speed limit in Houston, you are just in the way.
Yeah.
There comes a point where you just have to drive with flow of traffic.
Well, and I think there's so many great race car drivers coming out of Houston because you literally are drafting. What's
It
up?
was just a few years ago that whole area was 55.
Yeah.
From
I
Chambers
remember
County
that.
across.
Yeah,
Yep.
they made it all 55 to do something to do with gas, wasn't it?
So it was
To
air
save
quality.
fuel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
air quality. It didn't change shit.
No.
Why is it 50 miles an hour right there on 2018 under University where there's no new merging lanes or anything? It just slows down to 50 miles an hour. Laura got a ticket there because we found this out.
2018 at University on the north side or south side?
No, 2018 that goes right under University.
Under or over?
You go under it on the west side of town.
You don't go under. What?
So University when you're heading out towards Snook,
Oh, okay. 20 out there. Out
2018
there.
near Villa Maria, all that good stuff.
I have no
So
idea what that's.
Where
50.
they built a
They
hideous
did that-
diverging diamond instead of a roundabout.
Yeah.
That is the biggest
speed trap.
biggest speed trap. But there's
Going
no
right-
merging. It slows from 60 to 50,
Yeah.
and there's no
And the
merging
minute
traffic.
you pass 47, it jumps back up to 70.
Yep.
Who
And then
sat down and thought, this seems like a good idea? For those of you that
people
don't
who
know
get
what
money from tickets.
No, for those of you who
No,
don't
the
know what a
diverging diamond
diverging
thing.
diamond
Oh
is,
my God.
So they literally.
It
it's a
crisscrosses.
complete clusterfuck.
So you're driving on the right side of the road, and the other traffic's coming on the left side of the road, and you have a stoplight where you change sides to where you're driving on the left side of the road, so you can merge off or merge on.
Right.
And then you have another traffic light that lets you switch sides again.
Yeah.
All of that
Which
could have
is-
been solved with a traffic circle.
Right, but it's the U.S., not.
No, it's college.
We don't
college
do
station.
traffic circles.
You probably
But
should.
we
Then you
have-
wouldn't have to have a diverging diamond.
We have teaks here, and because we have teaks here, we are the test bed for all the stupid crap they want to try.
Yeah, like they
What is
did.
Teaks?
Like,
Teaks is Texas Engineering Extension Service.
well, they just had a thing.
Experiment station,
They,
excuse me.
they just had it on Wellburn where it's a horrible mistake, and I'll say it on camera, I don't care, where they caused a fatality because of the way they designed the road. It was last Friday.
Yeah.
So right there on Wellburn where you're going in front of Westgate, and it used to be a middle turn lane where you could pull off.
yeah.
Now it's two continuous lanes, and then people still have to turn left across there. The guy was poised to turn left, had his wheel turned, was waiting for a traffic stop. Guy behind him tried to go around him, clipped him, pushed him right into a Jeep Wrangler. The Jeep Wrangler flipped. The driver, 21-year-old kid on his way home, 4 o'clock on a Friday,
Wasn't wearing a
died.
seatbelt.
But still, he still flipped his Jeep.
Yeah, right. No,
Right.
but would it have been a fatality if he had not gotten launched 300 yards out of his Jeep?
Would that have happened if there had been a turn lane and the guy behind him
I'm
had
going to
just...
blame them for the wreck, yes. I'm not going to blame them for the fatality.
Yeah.
Okay.
The fatality was the choice of the guy not to put a seatbelt
Sure.
on it in an open top Wrangler without the roof on it.
And,
Sure.
Yeah, there was no doors on it either.
No,
was there?
he had no
from the
doors, no
pictures.
roof.
So,
Okay.
Did
okay.
he?
did it?
You've created the catapult at that point.
Yeah, I mean,
Correct.
it's really sad though because we've got a friend that does accident reconstruction, and
he's-
you know, the liability for the fatality still lies with the driver that hit that
Yeah.
caused the wreck. You know, so even though
And
It's so difficult to assign liability.
But in that instance where you were poised and they can see where he hit you into the oncoming traffic.
Yeah.
I mean, but still, that guy of that car, even if he is proven innocent, now has a fatality on his
On his
conscience.
Yeah.
And I mean, he didn't do
Why
that.
did he cut it so close on the pass?
Yeah, well, the guy behind him.
Well, I was saying, why the guy behind him, was he not paying attention to not see
Not
the
paying
car
attention,
stop?
trying to avoid.
Well, he
the
didn't have a
mirror.
license.
Well, that's a whole different conversation.
Mm-hmm.
There was a group of clusterfucks there.
But that transformation of that road made zero sense. You could have had a continuing lane all
and
the time.
There's
and now
definitely some roads in the Bryan College Station area that don't make a fucking bit of
the
sense.
town has grown or is growing faster than the traffic can keep up. If you
Yeah.
notice that Highway 6 now at 5, between 5 and 6 o'clock, there is stop
It's gridlock.
traffic.
Yeah.
There's stop traffic both ways.
I
on
see it in
6.
front of my store every day.
Yeah.
It
And-
starts around William J. Bryan. It goes south to Rock Prairie.
Yeah.
2018 will back up all the way from George Bush under University
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, and
At
that's-
5 o'clock every day.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be making 6 into 3 lanes. Which
They're
is
supposed to
like,
break ground any day now.
suppose schmoes,
But
I don't
the way
know.
they're doing it is actually kind of intelligent. They're doing it to the inside.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, they're doing that on 45 right now, and it's kind of a clusterfuck, but it's better than shutting the whole outside lanes down and shutting off entrances and exits.
Right.
So they can work without having to they can put up barricades to keep the workers away from the cars. I mean, it's not great. It's still road construction. But a third lane is going to help for a while.
Right.
They're going to have to cut another. They're going to have to cut an east-west highway through town.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're putting in the next 3 years, there's already permitted over 4,000 new rooftops for single-family homes just in South College Station. That
Yep.
doesn't include. I know our development's greenlit for. I think with senior living and multifamily, there's going to be 1,700 plus.
I saw a Southern Point billboard at in Waller today.
I think the Southern Point's the bulk of it. I think Southern Point's going to be about 2,000 homes.
When there's people moved in already.
Oh yeah, Southern Point is where the old Texas World Speedway was.
God rest its soul.
It's south of town.
That was a fun track.
But
It was a great track.
It's not that far south anymore, really.
It's not.
You know, all of College
Well,
Station.
they're
is growing
repaving
to-
William D. Fitch right now,
Yeah.
and it's going to have. I think William D. Fitch is going to turn into a highway.
Oh, absolutely.
They're going to cut 47 across. It's going to be the south side, kind of like.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of parallels being made to Bryan College Station to Austin in the 60s and 70s, when it exploded so quick they couldn't keep up with highways, and that's why the highways are such a disaster in Austin, is because they built so quick they couldn't set up the easements.
I purposely avoid Austin. I don't
It
like
is.
driving down.
I've driven through it a ton, and it's still super confusing to me. They're like, it's off Mopac, or if it's off 183, or if it's off. You can't. I love Houston because it's the hub and spoke design.
Yes.
If you get lost in Houston, you go 10 miles in a direction, you're gonna find a highway.
Yes.
Yep.
And then you get on that highway and you get back to whatever highway you need to get to.
You get lost in Austin, good luck.
Good luck, fucker.
You might as well just break out your guitar and sit at the side of the road.
Well,
and
we
make
got
money.
we got lost on the. I mean, not lost, but we did a double same path because the GPS hadn't updated to the
new roads.
construction,
Yep.
and it literally told us to turn around, and we went right back the way we
So
came,
this
and we were
is-
just like, "What would
This
happen?"
is a conversation that I was having with a customer the other day who got quite upset with me that his factory navigation didn't automatically update. I was like, well, hold on a minute. I'll put money right now that says by the 2022, 2023 model year, factory nav is not standard in anything anymore. It will be an option. Mazda's already done that.
Yep.
All their cars are equipped for it
Why would you have factory navigation in a day when your phone can sync with the
because
head
there
unit
are
and you can
people
run
there are
Google
people
Maps?
that still, as long as Apple keeps CarPlay closed source and Android Auto closed source, there's issues with integration. So like Mazda builds all their cars nav capable. They have the antennas in them, the systems in them, but they don't put the map disc in. And when we sell them, put the map disc in. And the reason is we can have the most up-to-date map disc in
That
inventory.
makes sense, yeah.
But if you want to update your factory nav, it tends to be, even if you buy the newest one, it's an average of a year out of date. By the time they get it created, get it on the SD card, get it distributed to the dealers and get it to people, it's about a year out of date. Whereas Google Maps and Apple Maps have just elected to do it for free.
I've never used the factory navigation in my car. I never used it in my last car.
We have people that won't buy cars without it still. And it tends to be an older crowd.
Yeah.
Now, the other issue that you run into is if you're in podunk nowhere and you have no cell phone signal, then if you didn't pre-download your maps on your phone, you're fucked.
Which I always do, but yeah, I get it. Yeah,
You know,
I get it.
so there's still a need for it, but in urban areas, don't trust it.
No.
Whereas your phone or Google Maps can update dynamically using their traffic data, and Google Maps does that. They use
This was Google Maps that got
Yeah.
us lost.
really.
Yeah.
How recent was the construction?
Oh, it was brand new.
Okay.
Yeah, but
So-
I mean, it still had told us, and I was like, that was weird.
So I wondered for a long time, and I finally figured it out one day. Google Maps has some of the most accurate traffic data in existence. And the reason
know
is
why?
they use every single person's phone
phone.
with a GPS speed sensor in it to tell them how traffic's flowing.
And the tracking
Yeah,
data.
that's how you see what's red and like
Yeah.
black traffic. And,
Yeah. And we're all being tracked, so are we comfortable with it?
So I have one more topic I wanted to bring up tonight on the actual business side of things.
Okay.
How do you be and I'm going to use sayings, right? How do you be a change agent? How do you be a rainmaker when there's nothing going on? So in my business, August is gangbusters. We killed it, broke records in August. September, especially early September, is known to be a ghost town. And October, November is some of the slowest months of the year. One of the things that I'm struggling with right now is we had an extraordinarily slow week, Tuesday through Thursday. Like, I mean, we had 4 people, we call opportunities. We had 4 opportunities in 4 days.
So you're asking, how do you when it comes
How
when
is
you're scraping the bottom of the barrel? How do you?
How as a manager or a salesperson do you create traffic? How do you create business
Well, it's interesting.
organically?
I've got a good answer.
Okay.
I have ideas as
Because
to.
we've just gone through this. I mean, we've had the slowest...
Now, this is also heavily industry dependent.
Right. Well, we do real estate and a bunch of other things. More media than real estate now, but still very much a real estate-oriented core of our business. And, we always took it as, the agent that lists is the agent that lasts.
Yeah.
So we go after listings and after listings and after listings, and we got a huge inventory of listings, and nothing's really moving. So what we did was analyze the market areas where things were moving, where things were selling, and then adjusted our strategy to find people. It's a much quicker sales process to work with a buyer
Yeah.
than it is with a seller.
Yeah.
It's generally in the world of real estate, working with sellers. The seller's got a greater lifetime value to the company than a buyer, right?
But it's a longer cycle.
But it's a longer cycle. So we're like, look, how do we put steady cash into the company? What do we need to do? And we looked at the areas of the market where our listings were, which are all, higher money listings. We got commercial leasing, we got commercial buildings, we got some nice, we got a $500,000 home, we got a $700,000 ranch. We've got nice stuff, but it's slow to move. So let's look at what's moving. And the market in College Station it's quite cool over that $250,000 mark. So we jumped in and just went swimming with the sharks in the $150,000 range. We switched our marketing up to buyer side traffic funnels using Zillow, and we pounded the phones. And what's happened, Alex?
I mean, like I have enough on my plate to keep me busy finally, which is
and I'm as busy as I've ever been, and it's just it goes back to you got to fish where the fish are.
Well,
Well, it's also the ability too of having Salesforce that can be dynamic and change on the fly, and know that instead of hounding, for sale by owners, trying to get listings or trying to get marketing to help sell your house, it's okay to switch over and say a buyer client is just as valuable to an agent.
Absolutely.
And I like it because going out and seeing 3 different houses around the area now is really great, because I get exposure to those 3 areas even more than I would trying to sell this one home and trying to just figure out what this is. Now I get to see 3 things and do my research and show them as much as I can.
Well, so
we're as busy as we've been.
Yeah.
in my industry, you have 2 types of salespeople in the world. You have hunters and gatherers.
Right.
And hunters are the ones that will, as the name defines, will go out and find the business, doing what y'all are doing. Gatherers are the guys that have dealt with the bounty for so long that they just sit back and wait for things to come to them.
Yep.
Well, how do you, in the current climate that we're dealing with, when business is slow, you've got commission-only salespeople, you can only call the same people so many times before you just irritate the shit out of them.
Absolutely.
There's a saying, it's a dead saying, thank God, but it was you call till they buy or die.
Yeah.
Oof.
And
But-
you still do, but not relentlessly.
Correct.
No.
Not relentlessly.
You
the
do it-
timing of the calls.
You don't pick up the phone and say, hey, you ready to buy a car yet? Or hey, you ready to buy a house yet? It's market updates and things like that. One of the things I've struggled with in a lot of, and I'm going to use car business as the medium here, with a lot of manufacturers, they don't have MAP, and MAP is minimum advertised price. if you don't have MAP, you can create a market where there isn't one with pricing. You can push your pricing down when you control how things are done. You push the pricing down to ridiculous levels, and you will stoke the fire by pushing people into the market
But
that may have been on the edge.
how much money do you lose doing that?
It's turn. It's getting new inventory on the ground and being ready for the next big month.
Right.
Would you rather move inventory that you're paying every day to
Oh
hold?
yeah, because I mean, it costs us money to list houses. It costs me money to have houses just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Absolutely.
control the price.
Yeah.
Well, you know, in the situation I'm in right now,
It costs your client money as well.
Yeah,
The longer
yeah.
the house sits on market,
Yeah.
I mean, your
Mortgages, taxes.
Yeah.
and then the market itself would
Market
appreciate the value of your house just by it being listed and sitting there.
So, you know, one of the things that we deal with our two specific brands is they have MAP pricing. So they say you cannot advertise below this price. So you are now advertised at the same price as everybody else. You have the same inventory as everybody else. You can't create a compelling business case for why they should buy from you. And you can only call the same people so many times. Short of knocking on doors or putting flyers on windshields at Walmart,
Sure.
But
how do
is
you
that-
create that change?
If I were you, and I mean this is food for thought, and tell me, you know, if that's good idea, bad idea, but there are other businesses and industries such as Google, and they'll do things where they will have meetings with their people where they'll pull them off for an hour and they
Yeah.
say, get together, and I would be really interested if you had 8 sales guys
Sure.
at a car place and say, hey, I want you all to think of 2 different ideas outside of each other
Yep.
and bring them together, and then we'll go through those now 16 ideas,
Yep.
and we will see
if any more viable.
if any of these are viable, and we'll all choose. We'll all choose and vote, and we go, everybody, let's try this strategy or these
Well-
2 strategies, and just see how it goes for a week.
We do that.
Okay,
We do that.
That's great.
The problem is if you have, you know, 50% of your staff are hunters, they're the ones that are actually bring you ideas.
Yeah.
The issue is how quick can you put it in place?
I mean, for me, what I do is, I just stack my schedule with coffee,
Yeah.
with meetings, with getting out there, and you know, you can tell when I'm busy at work because I never get
'Cause
to
he's
go to
jittery
coffees.
from the caffeine.
I never get to go to these coffee meetings.
Right.
And when it's slow, I start filling my schedule up with lunches and coffees because
Sure.
it's conversations that create clients.
Absolutely.
You know, and again, if I was in the car business, I don't know, I wouldn't be afraid to knock on doors and just go ask for business.
And the most concerning part is, for example, we had a gangbusters Friday, Saturday. We increased our monthly volume of sales by 50% between 2 days, and we're 16 days into the month, 15 days into the month. So the more alarming part of that is we don't know why. I've been digging through data. I spent a lot of time last night digging through data, saying, where is it coming from? How did it happen? Did we make a change? And the answer comes down to when you start looking, and I'll see the reports tomorrow morning. Did all ships rise in a high tide, or is it something that we did? Because we started a new marketing campaign at the first of the month. That tends to take about 2 weeks to take hold.
yeah.
Is it something that we did and we're just seeing it now?
So what's this new marketing campaign?
So we're doing complimentary. So you have to be careful what you give away,
Right.
because one, it has to provide a tangible value, like maintenance. People give away maintenance, but it doesn't. It's hard to provide a tangible value on cars that are inexpensive to maintain.
That's true.
So you're like, okay, cool, that's $200. That's not going to sway my buying decision. So we, with Mazda, started giving away a 5-year, 100,000-mile warranty for the month of September. It's powertrain warranty, engine, transmission, stuff like that. But it's something to somebody that says, okay, they're adding 40,000 miles to my coverage.
Right.
I don't know if that's what's causing the uptick in that business, because it's tough for us because we're unusual because we have 2 brands.
Right. Right.
You know, so if one brand's going up and one brand's not, but if both brands are going up, how are we affecting it?
Right. Right.
And the issue that you run into is the more data you get about why somebody came to you and why they bought, the better. However, most salespeople aren't interested in the metrics. They're not interested in how they got there.
They just want the next one.
They're going to fill in the boxes, and it's required in our CRM. How did you hear about us? How did you find
Yeah.
us?
Right. Right.
They click the drive-by box. It's funny how many people fucking drive by, right? If I look at my data, they're all drive-bys.
Right.
Bullshit. You know, they're not all drive-bys.
I mean, it's a heavily trafficked corner. You do get a lot of drive-bys.
It is, but with the exit changes, if you see my store, you have to make a conscious effort to get off the highway, circle around, cut back across the highway.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you can't see me from the exit. I'm a mile and a half from the exit, or a mile from the exit. So, and I'm not necessarily directly speaking to my business. I'm just saying, as a business in general, how do you, they say you shoot where the birds are flying.
Yeah, fish where the fish are at.
Right. How do you find where the birds are flying? How do you find where the fish are at?
Well,
do you look at your competitors or do you innovate?
I got an interesting conundrum posed to me with a local restaurant the other week, and it's a restaurant that sells classic Texas comfort food.
Yeah.
Your chicken fried steaks, your fried jalapenos, your fried mushrooms, that kind of stuff. And
Reinforced chairs there.
yeah, they do, but they're entering a stage in their life cycle where they've got to look at, hey, I was over there doing some market research the other week, and everybody in there was over 40, overweight, and I'm like, so their client base is actually, they've been in business 30 years, their client base is actually aging out and dying. Mm-hmm. And
Partially from their food.
Well, yeah, but how do you take a project like that and turn it into a successful, viable, trendy restaurant?
You have to have a willing client that is okay reworking their menu and their marketing to have a classic section on their menu to be able to cater to that client, but redo their decor or redo their image and redo their menu to attract a younger, trendier, more health-conscious client.
So you call it classics, and then you add that in, and you do a change, because people will still go there for food if they are a regular.
The restaurant market in this town is just becoming more and more and more competitive.
Now, at the same time, there's a restaurant sitting at Highway 21 into Highway 6 that serves that exact same food that has a 45 minutes to an hour wait every day at lunch.
Because of the demographic, because they are fishing where the fish are at.
Yep. And it's all oil field traffic. It's cops.
If we picked up
and you
this
can't
restaurant,
move a restaurant.
If we picked up this restaurant from its current location and put it next to Sodalax, that sells very, very similar food, I'm sure that people that were on the waiting list at Sodalax would look across the street and go, hey, they have chicken fried steak too. I'm going to walk over there.
Yep. But if I go
Lanes
there,
and Canes are right next to each other.
Yeah.
There you go.
I love Sodalax, but if I go there at anywhere from about 11:30 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon, it's an hour wait.
Yeah.
And it's a big restaurant.
Oh,
Yeah.
And it's $8 for a plate of food this big. That's all home cooked, country.
Oh, it's good.
Food.
I mean, I can feel my pants get tight when I go to Sodalax.
Yeah.
Eric has a question for Levine.
For me, all right.
Do you have a good pre-owned side of house and an open floor for sales staff? Seen when I sold Subarus, if new was slow, we would push the pre-owned side harder.
So, if you can't hear what Tex asked, Eric asked a question about pre-owned. Do you focus on pre-owned? And yes, you do. The issue in pre-owned right now is that inventory in pre-owned is harder to get than it's ever been.
That's always the issue in pre-owned.
Well, it is insane right now. Here's the reason. Well, there's a couple of reasons. One, you've had people's trade cycles are lengthening, so they're keeping their cars longer.
I got a letter from the Nissan store the other day. $5,000 over Kelly Blue Book. We'll pay. And I'm just like,
So what happens is, in pre-owned, is you can't make a used car. You can only make new ones, right? So you have to create a strong enough new car market to get the trades. That had to happen 30 days ago. Well, in the southern United States, in the last 2 years, you've had several major natural disasters that have taken hundreds of thousands of cars out of inventory.
I mean, look at the one in Houston. They were shipping cars up here and storing them.
Yeah, they had close to
tens of thousands of
They
cars.
had like 50,000 cars at TWS or something
believe it,
stupid.
yeah.
The aerial shot of that was incredible.
It's mind-boggling.
Thank you.
Was that you?
Yeah, it was us. We did it.
Brad's Drones did it.
It made it all over the news.
Jalopnik article.
Jalopnik. Some media company in Germany picked it up and subtitled it in German and everything. It was pretty
That guy was making so much money.
Well, that's I'm not going to say his name, but that track was supposed to operate for another 6 months. That happened in July of 17, August of 17.
August of 17. So they started bringing the cars up about September of 17.
Yeah. So that track was supposed to remain open through December 17. They were scheduled events.
If he got $1 a day storage for each of those cars,
He got cents a day, but it doesn't matter.
right?
They were there for 6, 7, 8 months. The crazy part was there were manufacturers coming there to do recalls on flooded cars to clear their recall backlog.
Damn.
There was, I think Mazda alone did like 450 or 500 airbag recalls on cars that were being crushed. Because the government says you have to fix a percentage of them.
Oh, that makes sense.
So it's cheaper for them to send 3 technicians and a generator to go out there and power the cars up, program them, change the airbags, and be able to document that it was done.
It's just so crazy.
It's like, so there are at auctions or at Enterprise. If Enterprise is a total car, they do the recalls before they total it out. Because they have to. They have to clear it off their backlogs. Because what can happen is, let's say somebody buys that car salvage and it gets in a wreck later, the liability can still come back to them.
Damn.
It can come back to the manufacturer.
It's crazy. Even after a salvage title's been issued?
Yes.
Wow.
So it's cheaper for them to do it. It costs them dollars than it does to run the risk of the liability.
Right.
Yeah.
But to Eric's point, yes, we have an open floor. But if your new car business is slow, your used car inventory dwindles. If you have to go buy used car inventory, it used to be the auction was the best place to get cars cheap. It's not. Currently, you're paying between $500 to $1,000 more for the $20,000 to $25,000 cars at the auction than you would pay on trade.
Maybe you do some kind of innovative thing where you work with other dealerships that have pre-owned inventory to make it to where you actually have access to a lot more of those.
But that's
Nobody has pre-owned inventory.
Yeah, it's so hard to find. You want to keep that pre-owned inventory yourself and sell it. Try and make the profit yourself.
Right. The issue comes up with pre-owned that. So when driving into Houston today, I counted them. I saw 6 billboards from 4 different auto groups for not about selling cars at all, about we buy cars. And they were positioned next to their competitors' buildings. So like right outside of AutoNation Katy, which is a massive store, they opened a Texas Direct Buying Center next door. So what people do is they'll go to the Texas Direct Buying Center and get an offer, and they'll go next door and say, if you give me this. Now, nobody takes into consideration the tax implication of it,
Right.
But they say, if you give me this for the car, I'll trade it. If not, I'll go next door and sell it. So the way you're getting inventory right now is by buying it off the street. So like we had a spiff program for a while where we paid a salesman to work a reverse car deal, where they would get on Craigslist when it was super slow and contact essentially for sale by owners that were worth a shit and say, I want to buy your car from you. Can I come look at it?
Yeah.
And we would pay them $50 to go do that, which is less than we pay them to sell a new car, but it's a volume thing. If we're super slow, it was a way for them to make extra money.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is when you go to buy a car from somebody, for some reason, they will trust some random Joe Blow off the street more than they'll trust a dealer who has certified funds and has a fucking $5 million building that they can't just up and leave. You know, but I've talked about that before. It's the reputation that dealers have is an earned one over the last 20 years.
Yeah, 30 even.
I mean, being that way as well, if I was selling my house and I had an agent bring by people who were going to buy my house and live with it, and then I had a guy come in, he's wearing a suit, and he's like, I work for this big company, we want to buy your house, all of a sudden I'd be wondering what's going on, because that's
it such a good deal?
correct.
Right.
If that big business is so interested in my product that I have, and I'm an independent person that has nothing to do with this, what don't I know that's going on?
What am I missing?
Right, and so that's where I think a lot of apprehension would come in.
I had a guy, a friend of mine, he hit me up the other day. He said, hey, can you do an appraisal? We're thinking of selling my house. I'm like, yeah, no worries. He's like, yeah, we won't really want to sell it, but they got the stairs, and we're getting up in age, and we really want a one-story. And well, someone came and knocked on the door the other day and offered me $150,000 for it. I thought that sounded pretty good. I thought, well, I better check out how much my house is worth. You know what, that CMA came back, low end, $239, low end.
Yeah, I bet you would have written him a check on the spot for him.
I said, I'll pay you $150 for it right now,
But then is for you, that would be an ethics violation?
Oh, I
wouldn't
can't do that.
Right. And that's the thing is that
It was, yeah, I can't.
there's a difference, we've talked about this before, the difference between selling a house and a home.
Yeah.
There's emotional, sentimental value in a home that doesn't translate to a new buyer.
Yeah, I mean, I had a deal fall apart this week because of a seller's emotional attachment to his home and how he believed in what he understood, and my buyers were the buyers for the home were going off of official inspection reports, and the deal collapsed because of pride and because of ego and because of emotion.
We have that issue on trade-ins where you do not see the flaws in your own vehicle because it's your vehicle. It's the most valuable vehicle in the world to you.
Exactly.
So, we have a process in our sales step where we have to go out and point it out.
Curbed rims, chipped windshields, it all needs fixing.
Curved rims, chipped windshields, smells, stains, tires.
Headliner.
Headliner.
You've done it. You've jumped in. You drove my Jeep after driving your Jeep, and there's a very stark difference. Other than the power,
just new and tight.
Right. It's the suspension and all that stuff ages with you, and you don't notice it.
Oh, I notice it.
Right.
Yeah.
But you don't notice it as much until you get in a
newer one,
a vehicle that is the same spec, but 80,000 miles newer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
So anyway,
We call it character.
character, right?
character, no,
You know?
it's age.
Yeah.
So,
And on that bombshell,
and on that bombshell, yeah, remove the emotion from buying decisions and see how.
remove the emotion from selling decisions.
Yeah.
Or have somebody you know and trust that can help you.
Yep.
like Alex
Or David.
or David
Or Sam.
Yeah. Or, well, not me. No. I don't want to help anymore. I just want to hide behind the scenes and press buttons. We actually picked up a client this week for the Media Foundry that I got to work on a little bit of the creativity for, and man, it's just so much more fun than selling houses. It's going in a little studio with them and poking buttons on the computer and being creative. So who knows? I may go into being a full-time creative here soon and just.
That's the next thing.
No, I don't know. No, I enjoy selling real estate. It's been very good to me. So
Yeah, it's fun.
no complaints. And on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you same time next Sunday with possibly a different guest. We're not sure yet. So thank you very much for joining us, Alex and David, and thank you very much for watching. Thank you to Cavalier Cigar Company, and of course the guys at Texas Media Foundry working behind the scenes, making us look as good as humanly possible. So on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you all next week. Have a good one.